Without doubt, the number one deficiency demonstrated by amateur golfers worldwide is their inability to control the low point of their swing. Specifically, I'm referring to the fact that they never get the bottom of their swing arc far enough forwards to be able to make the perfect contact of ball first, ground second. It's that poor low point control that leads to the fat shots, thin shots and top shots that you're so used to experiencing. But fear not, today's extremely simple drill will help you to eradicate those low point issues forever and have you striking the ball better than ever before. I'd like to start this video by watching a short clip from Andy Plummer and Mike Bennett from Stack and Tilt describing the importance of low point.
Okay, so if you hit this ball, okay, where would the divot be?
Divot's going to be in front of the line.
Okay. And if you stood here all day and hit balls, how many times would the divot be behind that line?
0.
So Mike demonstrates beautifully how the low point of his swing is after the ball or after the line. And Andy says, if you stood here all day, how many times would the divot be behind the line? And Mike's answer was 0. Now, that speaks to the ability the most elite golfers have, the most skillful players have, to control their low point and ensure that they hit the ball first and the ground second practically every single time. Now think about your answer to the same question that Andy just asked. If you stood here all day, how many times would the divot be behind the line? How many times would you hit the ground before the ball out of, let's say, 10 attempts? Once? Twice? 6, 7, 8 times? How many times would you miss the ground altogether? How many times would you top the ball? These questions need to be addressed because this specific skill is directly correlated to how good or how bad of a golfer you currently are. It's fair to say that if you're not paying attention to where the low point of your swing is every time you practice, it's very unlikely you're going to be improving this skill. But if you recognize yourself as someone who struggles with inconsistent contact every time you play, then paying attention to this skill should be your number one priority. And today, I'm going to share with you the most simple drill that will start to improve the location of your low point and genuinely improve your ability to play this game at a higher level. The number one factor when it comes to determining the low point location of your swing is the location of this lead shoulder and whether or not it's moving behind or towards the target. The poorest golfers would struggle with low point control because relative to where this lead shoulder starts and where this low point is built in at setup, they move the shoulder back and across, and by the time they get back to impact, the lead shoulder is further back or away from the target than when they started. And that projects the low point of the swing behind the ball, leading to all of those contact issues that we've already described. So if you're going to ensure that you get the low point of your swing after the ball, just as all the expert players do every single time and just as Mike Bennett demonstrated in that video, you need to understand that you have to get this lead shoulder into the right position at impact. And to help you do that, I've got probably the easiest drill you'll ever see. Take your normal setup. I've got an 8 iron here. You can do this with any club from the ground. My standard ball position would be to have that golf ball positioned 2 to 3 balls behind my lead shoulder. That's what creates this nice lead arm and shaft angled radius down to the ball. But what I'm going to do from this position here is I'm going to move the ball position artificially forwards by 5 or 6 inches. That golf ball is now more opposite my lead foot, or said another way, closer to the bottom of my swing. So if I was to swing normally and try to hit this ball, the likely outcome would be that I'd probably hit it quite thin, maybe top it, and I could very easily hit the ground before the ball because I've moved this golf ball into a space where my club is not used to being. However, for the purpose of this drill, in order to make good contact with this forward ball, I have to have my weight much more forward at the point of impact. You'll see how far forward this lead shoulder needs to go from our standard address or setup position and then where it would need to be if I was to recreate a sufficiently forward impact. That lead shoulder's gone a long way forward. So having the golf ball as your intention gets the right pieces moving in the right direction almost automatically. There's an instinct built in you already to hit this ball. So when the instruction is now to hit this golf ball from this artificially forward position, you're going to be much more inclined with this new intention to start to shift more forward. Whether that's by making a backswing that has less shift off the ball, because you already know you have to get to this ball, and if you move too far away, you're going to struggle to get there. So it could help you by creating a more centered backswing, which would certainly be desirable. Or it could simply make you move more forwards faster in the downswing to get that initial transition into the left side with the left knee and the left shoulder moving down and forward in transition. If you can get that piece into your swing, which can automatically start to occur through good intentions of hitting this forward ball position, you'll find that your low point will start to be much more forward. That's going to help you make the contact you're looking for, compress the ball, increase your distance, and ultimately become a much better golfer. So from this position, let's go ahead and just hit some. You can go through a couple of little rehearsals if you want to, just to sort of feel how far forward you need to move to reach that ball, and then we'll go ahead and hit one. That one felt quite nice, pretty good contact. I would expect some of you to find this quite difficult to begin with. It's quite a stretch or quite a significant shift towards the target from where many of you will currently be. I would say that the number one deficiency that golfers have as a pool of golfers, a pool of people, would be that you don't have your weight far enough forward at impact as a general rule. And so this drill is specifically addressing that deficiency. It's helping every single one of you who's too far back with your weight at impact to have a reason to be more forwards. And if that helps you to improve your ball striking with such a simple exercise like this, that's got to be good for everybody. That one was a bit thin, and that would generally be the expectation of the miss here, not quite getting to the bottom of the ball, because you'll reach a point where that ball is so far forwards that you either have to make an extremely large move forwards to get this low point or this lead shoulder far enough forwards, and at some stage you just won't manage to do it. So slightly thin as the miss here is okay. Another thing to think about here in terms of how I'm setting up, I'm using my regular setup and starting with the club in its normal position. But when I'm looking down here, I'm actually placing my focus more on the ball. And I do that for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I feel like it helps me to make a backswing where I stay more forwards with my head. It helps my lead shoulder to tilt down and to keep me more centered. And then secondly, by focusing my attention on the ball, it makes the movement down that we've described and discussed already of getting this lead shoulder forward, it makes that happen much more quickly, more effectively. So I'm more successful at this drill when I pay attention to the ball rather than pay attention to where the club's resting on the ground. That was a really nice one. Right out the center. And just before you run off to the driving range or your simulator to give this a try, there's one small caveat that I need to mention. Changing the ball position this much influences the direction of the swing. What do I mean by that? Well, if we know that the lead shoulder is that low point, that center of the swing where the arc or the radius is at its widest point, we also can surmise from that golf ball placed behind the center, conventional ball position, let's call that, where the radius is behind the center, builds in a very small amount of in to out. The club traveling from the inside to out, the club traveling slightly to the right of the target, because the club is going to strike the ball before the club reaches the tangent of the arc. Now, if I move the golf ball past that lead shoulder and now it's forward of that lead shoulder in this condition right here, I'm now hitting this golf ball after the tangent. And because the golf swing is an arc, we play golf on a tilted angle, and the arc for the club head and the hands is a circle like so. Once that club's reached the center, once it's gone past the tangent, the club path or the club direction is now moving more to the left. So one of the problems that this drill can create, if you're not careful, is that simply by putting the golf ball more forward into this drill position here, Some golfers will find it simply by swiping across the ball excessively, rather than doing what we've discussed from this front view, which is moving the weight forward sufficiently. Let me just show you one final tip to avoid that error. Super simple tip: take a head cover or something soft and place it on the ground just outside of the golf ball, in this position right here. And the reason I've placed it in this exact position is it's going to act as a barrier for the club head traveling on the incorrect path. So when I stand up and demonstrate that with this forward ball position for the drill that we're doing today, if I was to choose to reach that golf ball by swinging excessively out to in, I'm going to make contact with that head cover or the soft object on the ground before I hit the ball. I'm going to get the feedback that I'm doing it incorrectly. That's going to stop me from potentially ingraining another new or bad habit. What you want to be able to do with this drill is set up exactly as I described, with the ball forward of the center, 5 or 6 inches in front of the conventional position, and be able to swing back, swing down, missing the head cover, getting the lead shoulder forward enough, making that contact that we're looking for without disturbing the obstacle on the ground. Whatever it is you place on the ground there, you want to make sure we're missing it. That's going to ensure that from this down the line view, the swing direction is functional. We're not doing anything funky over here that's going to cause us problems. And at the same time, from the front view, I know that I'm going to be able to get this lead shoulder far enough forwards to take care of the low point challenges that this entire drill is there to improve. Another really good one. If you can get good at this drill, you're going to see an improvement in your ball striking immediately. Relatively simple concept, but very quick results. This doesn't take long to get good at. Let me know what you think. Get down in the comments and tell me, if you try this drill, what did it do for your ball striking? I think it's going to make a huge difference. I can't wait to hear what you have to tell me. So there's a drill to really help you with your ball striking. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of working on this skill and paying attention to where the low point of your swing is when you practice and when you play. If you can get better at this skill, you will become a better golfer. If you enjoyed the video today, guys, I'd appreciate you hitting the like button and consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here. It's my goal to provide practical and educational videos to help you play better golf. If you'd like more information on how to take an in-person or online lesson with me, I'll put the links down in the description. And if you'd like to learn more about stack and tilt and how the system can help to transform your entire golf game, why don't you check out this playlist I made on the Stack and Tilt 10-word template. 10 simple words to help you improve your golf swing quickly and effortlessly.